Hey everybody, Mike Wood here with ViperSharp, coming back at you with another contemplative video. I had an interesting interaction with an upset customer the other day and thought, it's worth doing a video to kind of hash it out, I guess. So this particular individual has been sharpening by hand all his life. And if you've got those skills, if you can sharpen by hand, that's phenomenal. Use that, because if you're good at it, anything else is going to pale in comparison. The reason I created ViperSharp was to allow those who don't have that skill and don't want to hone that skill but would rather have a precision system that allows them to set the angle, to have a very good system that will allow that angle set. Now, of course, that being said, every mechanical system, whether manual or electronic, is going to have its limitations. Let me show you what I'm talking about. See, if you're sharpening by hand and you want to get a 10-degree angle on a small pocket knife, well, then you can do that. You can go all the way flat if you want. I mean, there's so much potential, right? You can put that angle anywhere you want. The only limitation you have is your ability to hold that angle and keep that angle in the same place, or to keep the same angle as you do your sharpening. Okay, however you're doing that sharpening on a hand stone. So you've got all of that potential for whatever angle you want. So let's say we want 15 degrees or 16 degrees on a small pocket knife like this. If that's the case, then we decide where that 16 degrees is going to be. However, you do that by hand and then you sharpen, right? Well, when we move to a system that allows you to clamp in your knife and have a set angle and basically verify that, hey, that angle isn't going to change like it often does with hand sharpening. And if you're familiar with hand sharpening, then you'll know, gosh, there is going to be some human variation and adjustment there that's going to happen, right? What we need to look at here is, what angle can we get? The limitations we have are the movement in the bearing. So that rod has to be able to move through there, and so it can only go so steep, right? So that's one thing that we have to look at there. The other thing, we'll throw a 400 in here. So the other thing to look at is, in order for this type of a system to work, we have to have a clamp that holds onto the blade. And of course, that clamp has to have purchase on the knife in order for that knife not to move out of place. So we tighten that up. And the next part that I suggest talking about or looking at is determining the angle. Now, I generally like to just match the angle that's there. On most pocket knives, you're going to be somewhere between 18 to 22 degrees. But as I said earlier, what if we want a specific low angle? What if I want the angle to be 16 degrees? So now we have to get back to recognizing the limitations of the system. If we want a certain angle, we look at that and say, okay, well, that's 20 degrees. I want to go down to 16 degrees. So now we have to make some adjustments for where that is, right? But again, we have a clamp, and we're going to hit that clamp, right? On a knife with a narrow blade, we may not be able to achieve that desired goal. And it's important to recognize that limitation is there with any system. I've made ViperSharp the absolute lowest profile that there can be in the world. And you're not going to find any other system that is going to allow anything lower. Now, on this particular blade, I can, if I move that back, then I do have the ability, which is kind of surprising because that is actually the angle that the customer was concerned he couldn't get. I wonder if that's in the way there. Yeah. Now that angle has actually changed a little bit, which is even more curious. So there we are at that 16-degree angle. And so you can go to a 16-degree angle with a knife that has about a 3/4 inch width blade. But what I want to address here is, well, and currently that's the angle set on the shoulder of that edge. Once we wear down that shoulder and get to the apex, if we were to reprofile at this angle, then things may change a little bit. So there are inherent limitations to any device when you get more in play than just your hands on the knife or the knife and the stone. So it's important to kind of keep that in mind and recognize that those limitations are going to be there. Don't try to do something that the system is not designed to do. That's not the way it works. That's like wanting a truck and buying a Corvette and then being upset that you can't carry a load of wood home in your Corvette because it's not a truck. You use the appropriate tool for the appropriate task. So what I personally like to do and what I generally recommend is to match the existing angle. But if you are if you're real particular about the angle that you want for a specific use, then you may need to get that result by hand. If you know how to sharpen by hand, fantastic. Let's do that. But otherwise, there may be inherent limitations that you just need to be aware of with the system. So that's the purpose of this video, is just to talk a little bit about those limitations. If I wanted 16 degrees on this knife, I actually could do that. I don't. This knife works perfectly well for me at the factory angle. All I want to do is match the angle. And for that, I want to take a few passes, adjust until I get the angle where it needs to be so that it's taking away the marker on that full edge. So when we get to where we are removing that marker, so you can see initially it was only taking it away on the shoulder. Now I have adjusted to where it's actually taking it away on the whole edge there. Now I'm ready to sharpen the blade. So work within the limitations and possibilities of the system. So one last bit of clarification I'd like to put in here is hand sharpening versus using the ViperSharp. At no time have I ever said that the ViperSharp is superior to sharpening by hand. That's not the intent. That wasn't my intention to begin with. My intention for creating ViperSharp was to create a tool that allows those of us who don't have the skills and don't want to hone the skills of sharpening by hand to have a tool that will get precision results. And so let's not take this to one of those rivalry type situations, you know, where, oh, hey, my high school is better than your high school. My sports team is better than your sports team. This is the only way that it can happen. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of ways out there. There are a lot of different tools, a lot of different techniques. Use what works for you. If you're looking for a system that will make it easy to get exact precision results, that's what I created ViperSharp for. And I hope that you will love it and enjoy the ViperSharp system. You can find it at ViperSharp.com. Please give me a like in the video. Hopefully this has been helpful for you, and share it with somebody who might be interested. Leave a comment if you'd like. I'd love to hear from you.